Hello friends and welcome to PDGA Europe Talks, a new program where we will cover some of the most exciting topics about the growth of disc golf in the old continent. And for this first episode we have a very special guest, Mr. Jouni Kallio from Finland. Jouni, welcome.
Hi, great to be in the program.
Jouni, you are a member of the Finnish Disc Golf Association Board of Directors, and you're the head of junior development, and that's what we are going to talk about. Finland is very well known for the huge amount of good young players, and I suppose that junior development will have something in common with that.
Yes, and we hope we'll get plenty more.
You are also a member of one of the most important disc golf clubs there. They call it Juli. I'm not brave enough to say the whole name.
Yeah, it's Jyväskylän liitokiekkoilijat, which is the disc golf players of Jyväskylä, the city of Jyväskylä.
Ah, great.
But Juli is fine.
Juli is fine. We have had some conversations with Finland in the PDGA Europe National Association Support Plan. We were talking with Tapani Aulo from the Disc Golf Finnish Association, and we were talking extensively about those education and junior programs. It seems like disc golf is already present in the Finnish schools.
Yeah, we do have a lot of teachers that do teach disc golf in schools. A lot of those schools have their own disc golf courses. Of course, they're not very big. Most of them maybe have like six holes, and the holes are not the courses are not very long, but they're great for the younger kids. A lot of, and we have done a lot of educating the teachers and trying to get them to have the courage to take the kids out and toss some plastic.
From top competition to the new players, from supporting women to funding new courses, PDGA Europe is much more than competition. Visit pdga.com/join and grow the sport.
That is amazing. When we see the statistics of Finland, your club, I think that something about half of the members of your club are juniors. And in Finland as a whole, I think it was something like 25% of the members were under 18 years old, which is an excellent measure of the health of disc golf in a country.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's so important for the longevity of the sport. I mean, we don't want to be a sport that dies with us. So that the kids are the future.
It's a smart move. We have also talked with a lot of countries. 29 countries are now members of PDGA Europe. And basically the countries that are more developed in disc golf, they tell us that it's great to start disc golf education programs in the schools, but it's very important to first have the infrastructure. I mean, you really need to have courses near the schools, because otherwise it's easy to lose that momentum that you generate, no?
Yeah. We have 1,000 courses in Finland. Yeah. So there are a lot of opportunities, and the cities have really understood how cheap disc golf is to build. My day job is I'm working for the sports department of the city, and we are building swim halls, we're building ice hockey rinks, we're building all kinds of sports facilities, and a lot of times when we talk about maybe building a disc golf course, they don't even consider that an investment because it's too cheap for investing money. Because when let's say we're just renovating the swim hall, it's 10 million. But when we're building a disc golf course, we all know that it's actually not that expensive, especially if you're building the smaller ones.
That's true. Okay, let's start. We are talking about junior development. Part of it is the disc golf in the schools. How do you make more attractive disc golf, both for students and both for teachers. I've heard some things about gamifying the drills, some interesting strategies.
Yeah, I think, of course, we always have to teach how to do it, but then comes the practice part. And if you have 30 kids and you take them to a course, there's a lot of cueing and not a lot of throwing. So that's why, especially in our club, where we have developed the gamifying and developed the junior program, our point is that if we are practicing on the field, like the pros practice on the field, you get a lot of repetitions. But of course, if all the kids want to play on the course, because that's the exciting part, I understand it. But that's why you have to make the repetitions also interesting. So what we're doing is we're gamifying, of course. There are simple things like you can have target practice, for example. But then one goal that we really have is that since disc golf is not very highly physically intensive sport, and we have a lot of kids, for example, in our club who only play disc golf as their physical activity. And I feel like also as a trained professional in physical activity that we have the responsibility to also get those kids running. So I think that's why we have to think of ways to, when we gamify the practice, to get them running. Football gets kids running. They don't run because they want to get in shape. They run because they are tricked into running by the game, just like basketball, just like dance, and so on. But disc golf doesn't do that on its own. So what we are doing is we're implementing elements of running, elements of motor skill training into those different games.
Okay, you're incorporating some physical activity, not only the skills, but the fact of that physical education sounds very interesting. Also, the disc golf has some special values like the classical disc golf spirit of the game, which I feel that connects very well with the values that we want to transmit on the schools, no?
Yes, definitely. I think disc golf is very special compared to a lot of other games. Let's take, for example, our national game, I think, is the Finnish baseball, but nobody else plays it. So let's not take that as an example. But let's take ice hockey, for example. Ice hockey has fair play rules. Fair play means no cross-checking on someone's teeth. No, things like that. But disc golf's fair play is quite different. I mean, it means cheering for the other player when they do well. It means not disturbing the other player. It means not trying to get the other player to fail, but concentrate on your good shots. So I think in those terms, disc golf is a much better educator of just becoming a decent human being than many of the other sports.
Absolutely. How do you deal with, of course, the varying skill levels among the kids? Because not all of them will be very good players.
Yeah, there are huge skill differences. We have kids who are maybe 9 years old, and their metrics rating is like 890. So they are playing, better than many of the adults in the club. So we have those kids, and then we have, of course, kids at that age, 9, who are still just starting, as adults are starting at a later age. So it is a challenge, but of course, the good part is we're not playing tennis where one is serving 200 kilometers per hour and the other one doesn't even have time to move. So one player's result doesn't directly affect the other player's play. But what we're doing is we're making the game so that there are, for example, goals of varying difficulty. We're implementing the element of chance. So we're having, for example, there's a game where a pair runs to a disc, and then they have a game of rock, paper, scissors. And the winner of that gets a disc and the loser doesn't. So even if your rating is 1,000, if you don't get a disc, you don't get to score. So they keep running until there are no more discs. But we have a lot of those thought out, and especially my favorite instruction to anyone who is training kids is never don't base your practices on these games where the worst player drops out on the first try. So if you are the worst, you will never get better if you don't get the repetitions. And if you always get the least repetitions, it's a vicious cycle that will only... It's hard to improve if you don't get any practice.
It's very interesting. You have another interesting thing, which is called the Junfa.fi. It's a website that... What is the idea behind this website, and what is it for?
Yeah, when I started working in our club, and I wanted to start thinking of how to make the practices as good as possible. Of course, first I went to the library. There are tons of books on how to coach soccer or football, how to coach basketball, and so on. None about disc golf. And then I went online and tried to look for the instructions there. There were hardly anything there. So then I thought, okay, we'll have to make them on our own. But I don't want to do it for the 100 kids in our club. I want to do it for everyone because that's the spirit. So then we built this website, and we started putting all the material to the website first for our club, and then it became the website of the association. So now it has about 20 different games, and then it has all the instructions on how to organize the practice, why practice on the field, why practice on the course, all those different kinds of instructions that you may need. What would be a good structure for a practice session, for example. And we have that now only in Finnish, but we are now translating all the material because we have this EU project called DiscKids with the Germans and the Latvians, and for the next 1.5 years we'll be putting out a lot of material for all the clubs in Europe.
This is one of the other hot topics of the conversation. You announced this, we find it very interesting, and we have even received quite a few questions about, hey, can my country join this program? Could you explain us what is that Erasmus Plus program and how DiscKids fits, and how can it evolve or expand to other countries?
Yeah, so the idea is that we already have training instructor, like coach instructions courses here in Finland, and we have the materials, but those are only in Finnish. So we got some resources now to spread it around Europe. So we will be translating those to different languages, developing those further. And then, in addition, we will be handing out. We will get these starter packs for clubs if they want to start their own junior programs to get some equipment, and then hopefully we can have some online instructor training as well. So we have been training our junior coaches for a couple of years now with these new methods. And it's been very successful. We have alone in our club alone, we have more than 10 junior coaches who have been trained now and are actively coaching the juniors.
That is amazing. You also mentioned in that you're at a club level, if we skip from the schools to clubs, there are also many benefits of having a lot of junior members in the clubs. No? For example, you mentioned about the possibility of also activating the parents. Behind the junior, there's always a parent that is bringing him to the club or whatever. He could also become a part of the sport.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, it's such an unused potential that we have. If we think about other sports, especially at least in Finland, I mean, all the other sports run on parent energy, on parents' voluntary work. But if we think about disc golf and all the active people around disc golf, I would say if 1% is there because of their kids, I would say that could be an overestimation. So there is a huge untapped potential in that. I also think that because disc golf for a long time had a reputation on, especially in Finland, that where you would drink beer and you would go and toss some discs. Yeah. Now people know Väinö Mäkelä, they know Niklas Anttila, of course, and they know the Finnish players. So now they know that it's actually a sport where people compete. I think the next step would be that people would recognize that it's actually a real junior sport as well. So it's something where you can put your kid there, they will enjoy throwing the discs, but they will also get the whole physical education there.
That is amazing. When we evolve from the club level and you get some of the best junior players, there comes a time when you start, mixing the school junior programs with the elite training programs. You also have a very well-known elite training program with Sweden all together, making an elite training system. I don't know how does a junior player evolves from junior to elite, because we are seeing more and more often cases of top European players that are under 18 years old.
Yes, I think that's a great question. We start from what's called a family frisbee, where the kids come with their parents, and they're just they could be 3 years old or they could be 5 years old and so on. After at about the age of 7, they will come to the practice on their own. Then we have different age groups, and when they are teenagers, they can choose whether they want to be recreational or competitive. If they want to be competitive, it's still only twice a week, plus the competitions that they choose to take part in. But I think then once they are at that age, then we don't have all the tools in the club level. So then we have the association has their own camps, disc golf camps for the teens. So the lower secondary school kids, and then also the disc golf academy, which is then for the secondary education level, so like 18-year-old, around that. And then of course we have the disc golf Team Finland, who are practicing, then getting together a couple of times a year to practice, train, getting tested, and that's the cooperation that we have with Sweden.
Okay, that's great. Jouni, you're setting the pace of junior and education programs in whole Europe. And I'm sure that this information is going to be very useful for other countries also to know what's going on, how can they improve their junior and schooler programs. And I'm sure that you will get a lot of feedback about this, because I feel that it can be very useful for a lot of people in Europe.
Yeah, I'm happy to help, because I think I'm not thinking about the kids of Jyväskylä. I'm thinking about the kids of Europe and the world. I mean, it's not anything away from me if we get the kids in France to move, or in Germany, or in Spain, or wherever. So I think that's great. And one thing that I have to say that we have been really proud of is that we have trained a lot of young disc golf coaches. So we have some coaches that have been in our training since they were 16 years old. They now have their own groups that they lead. And I think this is a huge benefit that we can give to those kids. We can give them a summer job, because a lot of times we have funding for summer jobs for teenagers. So we can actually hire them for free, because the government or the local municipality gives some kind of funding for them to work for a couple of weeks. And then once they get educated and they get really involved in disc golf, they understand how the system works. I think that's one way also to get future disc golf active organizers as well. So we're bringing up the new generation of organizers for disc golf, and I think that's really important.
Okay, so dream big and build that next generation of players that take after the steps of Niklas Anttila winning his first DGPT Elite event. Okay, thank you very much all for coming to this first episode of PDGA Europe Talks. And Jouni, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you soon.